Good evening, good evening. Welcome to Respus Live. Happy Monday, everyone. Happy Monday. It is such an amazing day to be alive. Thank you guys so much for joining us on tonight. Happy Monday, everyone. Thank you for joining Respus Live. If you would please start a watch party and share this video. You are in for a treat tonight. I have an amazing guest at the studio on tonight. So please share the video and start a watch party. Thank you so much for joining on tonight. If you would please, tonight, I want you to hashtag our title, which is Find Your Voice. If someone could please put that in the comments for me. Find your voice. It's important to find your voice. It's good to listen to the voices of others, but it's imperative that you find your voice and what you're created to do and then operate in your giftedness. So tonight we're going to talk about finding your voice because our guest, one of the things that he believes in is giving a voice to the voiceless. So again, if you would please start a watch party and let's share this video. And we're going to actually have an amazing time on tonight. And that is my guest over there with that background noise, making a mess on my live show. But we understand that actually sometimes it's difficult, Dr. Tate, to it happened to me a couple of weeks ago, the same thing. So that happens to us a lot. But thank you so much for coming. So Respus Live viewers, please welcome tonight our guest, Dr. Jimmy Tate is in the house. And for all of those from Pender County,
absolutely,
we know who Dr. Tate is, and he is an amazing citizen, a homeboy. So we have our homeboy in the house on tonight, and we're glad to have you here, Dr. Tate.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for being a part of Respus Live. And tonight we're going to talk about finding your voice. And you believe, one of the things that you really believe in, it is important, it is imperative that we give a voice to the voiceless. But also for those that have a voice, we want you to find your voice and utilize it. It is imperative in these times that we're living in. If you were silent, it's time for you to step out of being silent, find your voice, and utilize your voice to help others. Because sometimes we do have to be a voice for the voiceless. So again, Dr. Tate, thank you so much for coming. Dr. Tate is the president of Mount Calvary University School of Divinity. So thank you so much for coming tonight, and tell us a little bit about yourself. To my viewers that don't know who you are,
Absolutely.
Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and please tell us about Mount Calvary University School of Divinity.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's an honor to be on your show. I said I served many years in Pender County government, and when you have a daughter of Pender to have her own show, we mighty proud of you. So all of Pender County tonight is celebrating. I can't wait till I get back to the county tonight and share with folks that one of our daughters are doing really great. So thank you and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
My journey story is that I grew up on a tobacco farm in Willard, North Carolina, where the population is about 54.
Yes.
Is what I share with people. My mom and dad were tobacco farmers who I learned a lot from in my life. And from mom and dad, I got a work ethic and a work value that really have helped me in life and throughout my career. I grew up in Willard and did a lot of things at the local church there and in our community, and just being very active, and love helping people and love helping the community at large. I am very active in education, very active in politics over the years. I am a graduate of UNC Wilmington, where I went to school at and got my bachelor's and master's, and did a lot of my doctoral work there as well as with St. Thomas University, who has a really prestigious law school program there in St. Thomas. And but I went in education administration was my area. I'm very involved in the community, and my passion has really been helping community people find their voice. I served 10 years as a county commissioner, and the voters of Pender County allowed me to serve.
Oh, good for you.
Absolutely, until I returned the seat back to the people where it belonged.
Absolutely.
And during those roles, I really got a chance sharing to travel throughout the communities like Maple Hill, Curry, Penderley, Willard, Wafa, and so many low-income community, but had so many great leaders and great people who had so much potential, and I really wanted to help them. But on the county commission, you were really involved in funding the hospital, funding the sheriff's office, funding so many different priorities and goals. So my attention was always on the community grassroots folks. But along that journey, I've always said that when I got my nearly 20 years with the state of North Carolina, through serving in higher education. I started off working teaching, taught high school for a short period of time at a couple high schools in Duplin County, James Keenan, and taught at Wallace Rose Hill and taught at North Duplin for a period. And then while serving consecutively during that time at James Sprint Community College, where I served in various roles, including Vice President of Human Resources and Advancement, where we had our phenomenal presidents that I served under, Dr. Mary Wood, who was the first Caucasian female president, and Dr. Lawrence Rouse, who was the first African-American male president. So I've had some great leaders who I learned so much from. And after serving there for about 10 years, I was fortunate enough, after finishing my doctorate in May of 2015, I believe, or 2016, to go on to Roanoke Shawan Community College and serve as president. The community college, and then left there to go serve as chief of staff at North Carolina Central University.
Oh my gosh.
And where I really, really enjoyed that position, working there in the chancellor's office and division, and then having that opportunity in 2018 to come back home and work with my brother, who has since passed away.
I'm so sorry to hear
My
that.
brother and I were very, very close. He passed away suddenly, nearly about 6 months after the Hurricane Florence hit our area. But he did a phenomenal job starting his own businesses in auto finance as well as in the auto insurance business, and which allowed me to come back home and work with him in those businesses, and I value the time that we were able to spend together. And in doing that, I was able to work on a long-time vision that God had gave me a long time, and that was to work on Mount Calvary University School of Divinity. When I traveled throughout the community in Pender County, I used to meet with churches a lot in grassroots community. And what I heard from members of the faith community was often is, my congregation is changing, my congregation is growing, but I'm a bivocational pastor. I serve in various roles, and I have a job from 9 to 5, and I can't just drive to Shaw Divinity at night, or I can't drive to Raleigh or Durham, and I need a school here in my area. And we have a lot of technology challenges still in many rural areas in Pender. And so we wanted to have a center to be able to provide that type of training for them and bring professors in from all over the state and all over the areas who are very accomplished in the area of divinity. And that's what led us to the establishment of Mount Calvary University School of Divinity, what we're very proud of to talk about tonight.
Thank you so much. What an amazing background. You've done a lot, young man. And that is what we're here to, is to serve. And you found your voice and you have utilized it to help so many people. And for that, we're grateful. I do want to give a shout out tonight to Nicole Brown. Thank you for joining. Suzette McKnight says, hello, Sharon and Dr. Tate.
Hey,
and
Suzanne.
we have Kiana and Rose Mormon, thank you for signing on. Bertha Akins, thank you for signing on. Ada Lane Fullwood, hey girl, thank you for signing on. Ma Faison, thank you so much for signing on. My mother, Sarah Perry, has signed on tonight. Hey mama, thank you for signing on. Shirley Weeding, Aline Hankins Moore, thank you so much for signing on tonight. Thank you, Arletha Batts. Deborah Boggs, thank you for signing on. We're so glad. Hey, Melinda, better known as Kissy. How are you doing tonight? We're so glad. Hi, Yashika from Greenville. Thank you for signing on. Judy Pickett, my high school friend. Right. Hey, Judy. James Herron and Phyllis Bryant, my homegirl. Montrina Sutton. Thank you guys for signing on tonight. Great. We have Dr. Tate in the house. Pender County homeboy here tonight to share some of the things that he has done, some amazing things he's done. He has found his voice. He has utilized it to help so many people in the community. If you are from Pender County, you know Dr. Tate. You know what he stands for. You know that it is important for him to give voice, to give his voice to the voiceless. And we are challenging you on tonight to find your voice. Utilize your voice. If there's ever been a season, Dr. Tate, where we need to utilize our voice, find it and utilize it, it is now. It is time for us to speak up and Absolutely. To stand up and utilize our voice. So as the president of Mount Calvary University School of Divinity, I'm excited about that. I believe in higher education. It is so important. I believe that we should sharpen the tools that the Lord has given us, and we should sharpen the tools that he has given us. So we need to make sure we're educated. Absolutely. I love to tell people that you need to be prepared when you sit to the table. Absolutely. Yes, when he prepares the table for us, we need to come with our tools, and we need to make sure our tools are sharpened. So this university allows us to sharpen your tools in the reference of divinity. So thank you for having a place where we can go and educate ourselves, because we have to study to show ourselves approved. A workman need not be ashamed, but we have to rightly divide the word Absolutely. Of truth. That's what the word says. So thank you so much for having an amazing university, and one of my dear friends worked with you, Francine Corbett. We went to high
Absolutely.
school together. We played basketball together. Francine is a very dear friend of mine, and I was honored for her to touch bases with me and to have you on the show. So, Dr. Tate, you've done a lot. You've been doing a lot of things pretty much all your life. You've been in politics. You have a political background. And so there was a question that I asked you prior to the show. And so I want to ask you now, do you believe, Dr. Tate, that leaders are born or if they're created? Or how do you, what are your thoughts about leadership and people that are in leadership? Are they born leaders, created leaders?
Sharon, that's a good question. That's an often debated question in higher ed, and it's a debated question in politics. It's a debated question in churches or where in the local community or wherever it is when you have people in leadership roles. In my studies, I find that I have mixed emotions about that. I certainly believe that there are persons who are born into leadership roles and who are born to be just leaders. They have that charisma, they have that personality, they have what it takes to be a leader, and they're born, and they don't necessarily have a formal education. They have it what it takes to be a leader. So those persons can really handle leadership under pressure. Because a good leader is a person who can handle pressure, and can they still keep their integrity, and can they still maintain their calmness during a moment of pressure, and can they still remember that what their whole purpose about service is about. And so from that aspect, I believe that leaders are born. I really do. But I also believe that a person can develop their leadership skills, not necessarily become a CEO or necessarily become a senior pastor of a church, but they can certainly go back to school and learn how to be effective in all that they can be. Some people's role is not to be at the very top, and it is to support leadership. And so therefore, I think it behooves everyone to be able to find their role in leadership and to look at how that they can develop that. Each year myself, I'll take at least one course. Even though I may teach at the university, I take at least one course at somebody's school to sit down at the table of another professor to teach me. And when I walk in that class, I don't tell the professor who I am or what I've served in my roles. I want them to know me just as Jimmy, the student in the class, so I can absorb and learn all that I can. And I think a good leader is one that not only studies to make themselves better, but I think a good leader is one that's open for critique and one that's open for someone to evaluate their leadership styles as well. So I think that in that aspect, I think leaders can develop their skills. But I think that leaders have to realize in developing their process, does it mean for them to be the best supportive leader that they can be, or does it mean for them to have a senior leadership role? And then that's a different conversation.
It is, because one of my dear friends told me a long time ago, you can be an excellent number two. It doesn't mean you'll be an excellent number one.
Absolutely.
So some of us, we actually have to find our role. And if our role is to be an excellent number two, then we serve that role and understand that our number one is not where we believe or where we belong. And so servant leadership is very important to me. I believe if every leader should be a servant leader. That's just my personal opinion as well as professional. I feel like if we serve others, if we understand it's about being a servant, then we won't allow people to, make our heads big and
Absolutely.
make me think we're better than someone else. But we just serve the people that God has blessed us to lead. And so as a leader myself, I practice servant leadership, and I tell my team all the time, and I call us a team.
Yes.
Because it's no I in
like
team. And I also say I'm here to serve you. And I don't think a lot of people are used to hearing their leaders say that, but a servant leader is to serve. And once we understand that, then we can really operate in our giftedness. So leaders, I believe leaders are born. I believe there's something in especially when your kid, you see your kids grow up. I have a 16-year-old daughter, and I saw those leadership abilities very young. And I was like, okay, how do I shape this little girl with so many opinions and outspoken? How do I shape that into a leadership role versus her being very talkative and out of control, to say the least? But I do believe that leaders are born, and that just because you make a number two, excellent number two, doesn't mean that you should automatically roll over into number one. So I have issues with positions that allow you to roll over into another position afterwards, because I don't know if it fits you. Whereas being a talk show or a podcast host may not fit you, but you can come and you can share your experience and share what you've done.
Wow.
Well,
That's
yes,
deep.
yes. And so I think it's very important that we understand that. So I love the fact that you believe in giving a voice to the voiceless. So as you served in politics, I'm sure that was your top priority, is to help others. And so I know it's refreshing to go at home at night and understand that you've helped so many people in the community, because community is big for you. Share some of the things about what's major in reference to community for Dr. Tate.
Yeah, community is building people, and building people to maximize their potential and seeing their full roles in society and how they can make it better and how they're contributing to society. And I think, Sharon, back up on something you said earlier that I think is very true, is that leaders got to have all of the skills. One of the books that we require at Mount Calvary for all of our graduate students that's coming into Calvary is to read is John C. Maxwell's. The book that's been out a long time, but it's the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, because we believe that those 21 laws can be applied to everybody's life, whether that's the law of the lid or whether that's the law of influence or whatever it is, that we believe that it can be applied to the life. And I think so many oftentimes is that communities don't always grow because we have the same people who are leading all the initiatives and not really producing other leaders. And sometimes leaders get in position and they're so comfortable in being the number one person, they're not really producing anybody. And I think an effective leader is look back and say, hey, who am I bringing along the way? Last evening, I was just telling a friend of mine earlier this evening, I was having a meeting with here in the city of Wilmington earlier. I was saying that last evening I had a great conversation. One of my former deans who worked for me at the college when I was at Roanoke near Virginia called me and said that, hey, I'm ready for a senior leadership role. My question was directly, David, what can I do to help you get to the next level now?
Oh, that's good.
And I think good leaders are not one that just want to excel themselves or to use their influence and their power to benefit them, but they're going to want to reach back and help someone else along the way. And I think leaders fail at that today.
Absolutely. I am in total agreement with that. I want to give a couple of shout outs to some people that signed on, and we do ask if you would actually share this video. Good evening, Kenneth Gray. Thank you so much, young man, for signing on tonight. Latasha Smith, thank you for signing on. She says that you're a very good speaker as well. Thank you for that shout out.
Not true.
Leslie Wilder, thank you for signing on. Leslie, Tyrese, my nephew. Francine Corbett, thank you for signing on. Lisa Littman, hey Lisa, thank you for signing on. Ronald Eccles, hey Ronald, thank you so much for signing on tonight. Brenda Howard, good evening. Hi Patricia Brown, my cousin from Brunswick County. So glad to have you all sign on. So if you would please start a watch party and share that video, share this actual podcast. And tonight we're talking about, our subject is find your voice. Dr. Tate believes in giving a voice to the voiceless, but also that we have to find our voices and utilize them. And this season, in 2020, we have to find our voice and utilize it. Now is not the time for us to be silent. We have to speak up and be clear about what we stand for. If there's ever been a time, Dr. Tate, that we need to stand up and speak up, it is now. And I've shared on Respus Live more than once, after watching the tape, the video of the young man that lost his life. It changed my perspective. I mean, it changed my life totally. To watch that video, I can't even say it's horrific, because there's not a word that I can think of that would actually describe, that act of violence. And watching that video changed my perspective. I didn't talk about politics. I didn't talk about social justice. My pages were inspirational. They were encouraging. But after I watched that video and I watched him lose his life, it changed. And I say, I have to use this platform.
Absolutely.
I have to use my voice. So that's what helped me find my voice.
Absolutely.
Was watching that video. It was hard. It was horrific. It was hard to watch, but it changed my life. It changed the trajectory of my life. It changed my voice. So now I want to speak out about police brutality. I want to speak out about racial injustice. I want to have people on and share their sides of the story, and also help us to understand that in 2020, it's time for a change, and that we need to be change agents. We can talk about what happened, but what are we going to do to change what happened? If we find our voice and we utilize our voice, we become change agents. You are a change agent. And I'm grateful to say that, because of the things that you do. You are a change agent. We are either a thermostat or a thermometer. Wow. It is totally up to us if we set the atmosphere or we just blend in. And so I challenge our visitors tonight, and the people that are watching this show, to figure out if you're a thermometer or a thermostat. And if you're just blending in, you got to find your voice, because that's the only way you find your voice. not to blend in, but to figure out what it is that you were created to do. What is your assignment? What are you supposed to be leading in this season?
Absolutely.
And so thank you, Dr. Tate, for sharing the importance of finding your voice.
Absolutely.
Thank you for providing a facility for us, you know, to better ourselves and to educate ourselves. And that's a good way to find our voice, you know, and prepare ourselves and sharpen our tools, because we discussed before the show that iron does sharpen iron.
That's
and
right.
so what a great way for that to happen. Thank you, Pam Ferenstein and Aaron Robinson, for signing on. Thank you so much for signing on. There is LaTarsha Smith says, I've been knowing Dr. Tate for a long time, and he's such a nice, sweet person. That is very nice of you to share.
LaTarsha, my classmate.
Oh, just your classmate.
Yeah,
Thank you
Pender
so
High.
much. Thank you, LaTarsha, from Pender High.
Pender High.
What year did you graduate from Pender High?
96.
Okay. I graduated in 1988 from Pender High School.
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
we were Pender High School graduates. Patriots are in the house on tonight. That's why when you said you worked at, I think, Wallace Rose Hill,
I did.
you know, there were our rivalries when we were in high school. So I was like, he worked for Wallace, but it's okay. It's okay. So tell me, Dr. Tate, about your political background, some of the things that you have done and currently still doing, because you do a lot of work behind the scenes. So what are some things that you've been doing or that's going on now in Pender County that you want to speak on?
Absolutely. One of the things that I do a lot of work in the community is helping making our schools better. And I will tell you that I really loved the junior high and elementary school when I was at Pender Lee. Pender Lee was a very small community school, and there was a lot of people who knew one another, and it was a community farm-based school. But I struggled with high school. High school was very, very tough for me. And I tell students all the time, I not only work in Mount Calvary, but I do a lot of consulting work across the university system in North Carolina. And one of the things I speak out a lot about is bullying, and I think a lot about a lot of different issues that students deal with on campuses. And a lot of that comes back from high schools. High school years were tough, and I was ready to leave as quick as I possibly could, and I look forward to going to, I also went to community college, Cape Fear Community College, and James Sprunt Community College as well. So I tell people that I'm a product of Pender County, Pender High School, Cape Fear, all of those places, because I really learned so much there all those years in serving in my high school years. But I also really appreciate the work that community members that laid the foundation before us did. A lot of our educators and others did in Pender County, and laying the foundation for us to have a good school for everyone to work towards. As good as our schools are in Pender, there's still some challenges.
Absolutely.
When you look today in our schools and you see so many issues that are prevailing that are beyond parental control many times, I think someone have to be a voice for the voiceless. Most recently, there's been some issues that emerged in Pender County schools that I don't have children, but being unapologetically bold, I had to get a voice and be a voice. And find that voice for the community and be a spokesperson for it. And it's not been popular, because it basically allowed me to challenge folks who I thought I was friends with. I served on the, as I said earlier, 10 years. God allowed me to serve on the county commission. I got to know a lot of people in the community, a lot of current school board members. And these are a lot of people who I'm challenging their views and their leadership skills on now today. We have a superintendent that I believe that should resign this afternoon.
Okay.
I certainly say that very boldly. We have a school board attorney that I wish would resign tonight. And I don't say those comments lightly. If anyone that know me, I know that I don't go around asking for someone to resign. I'm usually saying, how can we work together? And if I need to come back and revisit those statements and see if we can, once we have a conversation, how do we restructure moving forward, I'll be the first one at the table, but I don't see a reason to do that today. When we look at our schools and we look at the amount of money that our schools is spending on a contract attorney that they hire, which is about, in the last 4 years alone, have exceeded about over nearly $1.7 million. But you see the county attorney in the county alone makes around $65,000, something wrong with that. When our teachers make about $40,000 a year in Pender County, many of our teachers do, and yet we have a school board attorney that the school system is paying to drive all the way from Raleigh, not hiring an attorney from Wilmington, not hiring an attorney from Pender County, Burgal, our local areas to come here, but they're paying that attorney from one firm as much as $350 an hour to get in their car and drive to Pender County. And yet our teachers are having to use their own resources to buy supplies for the classroom. While I may be friends with school board members, I think that's wrong. And when we have students who need after school tutorial programs and other mentoring services, and we're not investing at the level that we need to on those levels, but yet we can cause other people income levels to go up, then we got to have a voice and we got to speak out. I tell folk all the time, I can play a game of golf with you on Sunday afternoon. I can even go to the beach with you on Saturday. But on Monday, I'm going to do what's right for the people of the whatever region that I'm fighting a voice for.
And that is amazing. The things that are going on in Pender County school system. I've watched some videos. I know Dante Murphy.
Absolutely,
He's a classmate of mine as
really?
well.
He's a
We
wonderful
graduated
guy.
in 1988, and I've heard him speak out on it. And it sounds like the citizens of Pender County need to really step up and also have a voice, and don't let your voice be the only voice. And I think that's what we need to do. I take Think Out. That's what we need to do as citizens when we see things that are not wrong, that are not right. We need to speak up and utilize our voice. And there's a right and a wrong way to do that. And I love the fact how you and Dante utilized your skills, and you challenge people to do better. And you don't have to be indignant about it, very professional. And I love that, because we can get our point across. We don't have to yell. We don't have to scream. We can sit down and have intellectual, intelligent conversations and let them know what you're doing we don't agree with. And this is how we find our voice and we utilize our voice. So we challenge everyone that's a Pender County citizen. If you're not okay with the school system and the way it's going forward, whether you have children there or not, there are some kids that's coming after your kids, and there are some kids that's coming that need your voice now. There's a kid in elementary school that doesn't have a voice right now. And this is how Dr. Tate says we can be the voice for the voiceless.
Absolutely.
And so you're speaking out now for kids that's coming through the system. Maybe a niece. I have a niece that goes to Pender County schools. And so it's important to me that she gets a good education and that the school system understands the importance of taking care of their teachers. I'm amazed at what teachers' salaries are, and it's public information. And so it is time for us to stand up with them and utilize our voices. So thank you for standing up with the citizens of Pender County.
Sharon, can I say a comment on that?
Oh, absolutely.
And even having a voice, sometimes our voice even in 21st century America, what I've found in the last couple of weeks in working with our school board, there are still people who want to silence your voice, even when you have a voice. It's fine when we are all getting along very well and we're supporting a certain agenda. But when we challenge that agenda or leadership style that wants to silence the voice, I was most disappointed in Pender County Schools leadership, the Board of Education, Superintendent Hill, some weeks ago, and the board attorney who made a decision when our wonderful President Murphy, along with the NAACP and many other community members, and I want to applaud as many blacks, white, and the other community have come out as well and support this cause. But what I saw when we went to Topsail High School there to challenge what we thought was wrong and really truly believed in, when we arrived at the school, we found out there was a mass number of people who were standing outside the schools. The school would not allow us into the auditorium. Something that I have to say I've never seen in the 10 years I served on the Board of Commissioners. And there were some heated discussions and heated debates, but I always seen Board Chairman Brown and others always allow the folks to be heard and the voice to be heard. But in the school system, they tried to silence that voice. And I told someone it reminded me of some dark days in history. Walked us in one by one, had a lot of law enforcement presence there. Thankfully, our sheriff handled that very, very well. And really, when the folks arrived, really, the school system wanted to tell us that we had to wait outside. And no communication was given to the folks before that day to tell us by the school system what we needed to be in compliance with their rules and regulations at that time. Then a couple weeks later, we showed up to a school board meeting. And I saw a trickery system that was used that I think is certainly needs certainly reevaluated, and it was blatantly wrong. And that was that when we went back to the school board to be a voice, as soon as we walked into the school board room to speak, we heard Board of Education members who's supposed to be my friends now and people who I've served with over the years, we were told that they had made a decision that day to allow 9 of their staff members being in compliance with the Governor Order 10 in a room. And we certainly believe in compliance. But the school board had devised a mechanism to keep us out. And that mechanism, in my opinion, was they allowed 9 of their employees to be present that night. And so only one of us were allowed into the room to speak. And then after myself and Reverend Murphy spoke, we were told that the 10th person would be an employee. So we would have to wait outside. Now, what board wants to hear your voice and then tell you that they're going to stack the room with 10 of their employees and yet to be in compliance with the governor's rule? We support what Governor Cooper rule is, but what we don't support is when the school board used that to try to silence a voice. And who would use something like COVID-19, what's going on in the world today, to silence people's voice to come to speak to their local government? These are people we're elected to be a voice for and by the people. And I think that when people see this, we have to be a voice for that. Mm-hmm. And we have to be a voice at the polls as well.
Absolutely. And if you want to be a change agent, and I cannot say this enough on Respus Live, if you don't like what's happening, if you don't agree with what's happening, the best way we can be change agents is to go vote.
Absolutely.
We have to go and vote and let our voices, that is a key component of how we can allow our voices to be heard. It's at the poll. And every voice counts. So every vote counts. If you're not in agreement with something on a presidential level or on a county level,
absolutely.
I mean, go to the polls and vote and allow yourself to be a change agent. And that's how we're going to make a change. I have seen these posts on Facebook. I've seen people say this. Please go vote.
Absolutely.
Please go vote. Mm-hmm. And I commend places like my girlfriend, Pastor Danielle Glaze.
Absolutely.
She has at their church, they have voter registration.
I like that.
And so we need to make sure that voter registration is available and that we go register. We take someone if we have to, but we have to vote. There's ever been a time where we need to vote as a people and utilize our voices. It's at the poll. So I challenge you, every viewer on tonight, to make sure you vote, because until we change the people that are in office, whether we want to or not, we need to make sure that we're voting for people that we believe in, their beliefs and what they stand for. Mm-hmm. And so we really need to be informed. Mm-hmm. We have to make informed decisions. We just can't go vote because somebody say they're a certain candidate or a certain party. Mm-hmm. You can forget that. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You need to make sure that they stand for what you believe. And so we have to make informed decisions. And I challenge you. It's a crucial time.
Absolutely,
it is a crucial time, Dr. Tate. If there's ever been a time where we need to make informed decisions, it is now, and allow our voices to be heard. So if you want to be a change agent, if you want to utilize your voice, if you want to find your voice, it's at the polls.
Absolutely,
it's at the polls. Mm-hmm. And so we have to make informed decisions. Research the candidates.
Absolutely.
Follow them on social media. Mm-hmm. Pop up on them and see what they're doing and what they really believe in, and then make an informed decision as who you want to vote for. And
see if those candidates are willing to listen to your voice.
Absolutely.
It's one thing when we elect a candidate and they campaign on a certain platform, and then once they're elected, then they don't want to hear your voice. And that's the challenge that I have with our school system right now. If you've not picked up on this issue, that's a big issue with me right now with our county, because I think that our children of Pender County and surrounding counties are the future. They are tomorrow in so many different ways. They are our next wave of leaders, and I believe that the school board holds those hymns to be able to allow that to happen. And so that's an issue that I think that I'm glad to talk about tonight, and what I can talk about. Hope my friend Reverend Murphy's listened to this show this evening. But a lot of great things that are going on and Pender and surrounding counties when it comes to finding your voice. I'd like to talk about some people tonight that really have found their voice and been really instrumental to me. Mm-hmm. In Pender County, we have some really good leaders, like a lady named Miss Mary Jordan, who was one of my first principals in elementary school, who was a leader and still is a leader mm-hmm. in her community there in Maple Hill.
Yes.
We have so many great leaders that Mr. Martin, and so many others have emerged out of Pender County. Yes. Cheryl Beatty and so many other people who
I love both of those, Miss Jordan and Cheryl Beatty. Garrett Jordan, Miss Jordan's son, he and I graduated from high school together. So, so Garrett and I are really good friends, and they have always utilized their voices.
Absolutely.
She as well as Miss Beatty. Very, very amazing young ladies. I want to give a shout out, and George Seals Jr., thank you for signing on. George said local elections are crucial for your voice to be heard.
Very.
Thank you so much, George, for placing that in there, because local elections are crucial. And this is a way for us to allow our voices to be heard. And Suzette McKnight says, get to know your candidates. We really do need to make sure we make informed decisions and not just go vote because someone told us to, but to make sure we're making informed decisions. Thank you all for signing on. Thank you for sharing the video. We're talking about on tonight finding your voice. It is important for you to find your voice. And Dr. Tate believes in giving a voice to the voiceless, and if you can tell, he is very passionate about his voice and making it heard and standing up for what you believe is right. If there's ever been a time that we need to stand for what we believe is right, now is the time. This is the time for us to find our voice, to utilize our voices. And what better way to utilize our voices than to join together and go to the polls and make sure we're voting. So we do ask you to make sure you're registered to vote and make sure you're making informed decisions as you vote. So Dr. Tate, we believe that leaders are born, and we believe that once you've been given the charge of leadership, that you should serve. You should serve those that you lead. Mm-hmm. It's about servant leadership. And we've talked about your school. We've talked about the politics. Tell us some more things that you have going on, because you're very busy. I remember the night I was talking to you, you were headed to another meeting. You was leaving one, going to another one. So you're a very busy person in the community, and you have your hands in a lot of things. And you're doing them well. So share with the viewers on Respus Live that may not know some of the things that you're doing that you're passionate about during this season.
Well, I still serve with the university system and working in a number of roles. I am very interested in helping students go to college, helping students to know that whether they want to go to divinity, I want everybody to go to Mount Calvary.
Of course.
But if you don't, we got some other great institutions out there, such as Fayetteville State University, North Carolina Central, North Carolina A&T, UNC Chapel Hill, and of course UNCW. Mm-hmm. So many different universities that our students can go to. And so the last several years, I've spent a lot of my role into the advancement side of the house and making sure that we have scholarship dollars to support those students and making sure that we have good HR processes in place to be able to handle students and to be able to work with faculty members and administrators and make sure that they have students' best interests at heart and they really want to help students and people to excel in leadership role. I think that one of the other things I'm very happy to talk about tonight, if I can put that hat on for a few moments, is I want to give a big shout out to Lisa Robinson, who serves as our executive director of our Mount Calvary Center for Leadership Development. Her and Ms. Francine Corbett does such a great job in leading that program every day. Mount Calvary Center for Leadership Development really emerged as a separate division of Mount Calvary University School of Divinity. When we opened the Divinity School, we saw that we had people showing up at our office who said that, listen, I got this issue, Jimmy, and I remember you on county council. I need your help with this. I need your help with hurricane recovery. I need your help with helping us with this community leadership issue that we really need to know how to fight this issue. We don't know what to do, where to go. So we quickly emerged into that, and I went and talked to several of our board members, and they said we need to really become that leadership development organization to produce other leaders. Going back to what we discussed earlier tonight, Sharon, about finding your voice, some leaders don't reach back and help find other leaders. And so Mount Calvary Center for Leadership developed earlier this year with the great work of Attorney Maddow here in Wilmington that we were very fortunate to be able to do as a nonprofit organization to really specialize in leadership development training and to help grassroots leaders know their full potential. And not only that, but do the political awareness and as well as become advocates for as change agents, as you mentioned earlier tonight. That's what Mount Calvary is about. You sound like a Calvary scholar there, like a graduate of our leadership program. There you go. And when you were talking earlier tonight, because that's what our center is all about, is when there is an issue, how do you address that issue and move it forward and keep the tenacity? Because leadership, while it may seem enjoyable, it may seem fun, it may seem that you get a lot of attention, true leaders might tell you that they didn't ask for this calling, and I believe it's a calling. Because you're right. When you go home at night and if a good leader, you reflect on what you've done well, what went well, and what's been the challenges and what you could have done better.
Absolutely.
Tonight on this show, when I go home tonight, I'll think about what could I have said better? What could I have readdressed? So I think that today's time, that one of the things that we teach at Mount Calvary is one of the very first classes that our students do in our School of Leadership program at Mount Calvary is a personality inventory. Why do they have to do that? Because we want leaders to know, and we bring in counselors, psychologists, and other persons who specializes with special skills to do those assessments. And we want them to know who they are. And we want leaders to know What are their strengths and what are their challenges? Sometimes people have served in leadership role, whether that's a senior pastor, whether that's a career politician or whomever it is, for so long, and they hear all of these accolades. You're doing well, you're doing great, when people really not being honest with them and letting them know that there's room for growth and room for opportunity. So we teach our leaders it's okay to say I failed. It's okay to say that I need to do better at this. Know your weaknesses and challenges before you lead others. And that's our wonderful 6-week leadership model that we do at Mount Calvary. I'm really proud about.
That is very important. Constructive feedback is what I call it.
Absolutely.
We need constructive feedback. We need people in our lives that love us enough, that are honest with us and challenge us to do better. And so I love to surround myself around people that will challenge me to be the best person that I am, and to make me understand that there's room for growth. And it takes sunshine and it takes rain for flowers to grow. So we need the good and the bad in order for us to grow. So we need someone to love us enough to actually challenge us. Thank you so much for signing on, everyone. Catherine Tyson, thank you for signing on. Linda Robinson Bass, thank you so much. Mara Bryant, Krista Blackson, thank you so much. Taurus Deeds, Pastor Armour, thank you for signing on tonight. Suzette, I definitely wanted to read your comment on the show. You said our people need to stop thinking the presidential election is the only election that is important. Instill the importance of those local elections too.
Wow. Those
are the people making decisions about our everyday lives as well. Thank you so much, Suzette McKnight, for that comment. And it is so important that we understand the importance of all elections.
Can I comment on that, Sharon, if
Sure.
I can as well? Whoever made that comment, I think they should get the star of the night. That's an awesome comment, because we hear so much about presidential elections, but it is, I often told folks when in the county commissioner level or city council level, it is those persons that's making a decision that's going to affect your everyday life on a local level. And so you do need to know your candidates. Get to know those candidates, and don't vote for them just because whatever party they are. Vote for them not just because how they look either. We need to vote on people who are going to hear our voice.
Absolutely.
And let your voice be heard.
Absolutely.
We need to vote on candidates who represent us.
Absolutely.
And represent our issues and our voices to be heard.
Absolutely, Dr. Tate. That is so true. And that was Suzette McKnight that made that
Thank
comment.
You, Ms. McKnight.
Yes, we thank you for that comment. Thank you for all your comments. Thank you, everyone, for signing on and starting your watch parties. I'm looking at how many of you have shared the video. Thank you so much for sharing the podcast on tonight. We're talking to Dr. Jimmy Tate, and he's in the house on tonight. We're so glad to have you here from Pender County. I love being from Pender County. I'm proud to be from Burgaw, North Carolina. Over there in the park is what we call it. Yes, where we down for life over there. So tonight our subject is find your voice. We challenge you to find your voice and then utilize it. Dr. Tate believes in giving a voice to the voiceless, and if you've listened to him tonight, you know that he's passionate about serving, about servant leadership, and about community and speaking up for what is right. It is time out for us to be in silence, silent about issues. It's time for us to speak and to share how we feel, and then to be change agents. We just can't talk. We got to go to the poll. We got to go to the vote and go vote. Drina Henry, thank you for signing on, Drina. Drina says if you don't have a ride to the polls, ask somebody to take you.
That.
Yes,
That's
thank
good.
you so much,
That's
Drina,
good.
for making that comment. It is essential that if we don't have a ride to the poll, that we ask someone to take us. And just it's time now for us to utilize our voices and be change agent. Thank you, Nikita Nixon, for signing on. Ronald Eccles says a good leader needs constructive criticism. I call it feedback, but it's the same
Absolutely.
thing. Yeah, we definitely need it, Ronald. And that's the only way we're going to grow, is to have people that love us enough to tell us the truth.
Absolutely.
I thank the Lord for the people in my life that loves me enough to say that. And to share areas that we can improve, because I love to improve. I'm all about improving myself, because I understand I have yet to arrive.
Absolutely.
That I'm still in transit and I'm still being worked on. He's still working on me.
Absolutely.
And so in the process of that, we need to understand that we need to be receptive of corrective criticism. I call it feedback, because feedback is important. And sometimes the word criticism has a negative content to it, but constructive feedback is important for us to grow as leaders, as individuals.
Absolutely.
Just like when we have children or family members, we tell them the good and the bad, and then we allow them to progress and make changes as necessary. So thank you all for signing on. Terrell Moore, he says Pender County strong. Thank you so much for signing on. We're so glad to have so many people from Pender County
Absolutely.
on
Those
tonight.
my classmates.
Dr. Sate said you're his classmates. Thank you guys for signing on tonight. It is important that we find our voice. If you don't remember, anything that we say on tonight, make sure you find your voice and then utilize it.
Absolutely.
And make sure you vote, and make sure that you carry someone else to the poll with you if you need to. But if you see something that's not right, you have to speak up now.
Absolutely.
It is time for us to utilize our voices. For those that are still silent, and as I stated, the incident caused me to look at myself, and it challenged me to utilize my voice. And what greater way to use this podcast than to bring people on like yourself, Dr. Tate, that has found your voice and that will challenge other people to find their voices. And not only have you challenged us to find our voice, you have given places where we can go to sharpen our tools and to find our voice. So you have so many resources that are available for us. Like, you're the president of Mount Calvary University School of Divinity. Please tell us more about that. How do we sign up? If you're interested in furthering your education, and if you want to sharpen your tools, Dr. Tate is the president of Mount Calvary University School of Divinity. So tell us, if someone's watching tonight that wants to become a student at your university, tell us about that.
Absolutely. They can call 910-665-1352 at any time, and we will be glad to sign them up. Miss Francine Corbett does a great job with doing the admission process. Her and Hayes McLean handles that process for Ms. Robinson, myself, and others on our team, and Robert Turner. So we really appreciate the work that they do. But students can sign up. We do have limited scholarship dollars available. We've had some generous donors when we opened our doors of Mount Calvary who came on board and said that I want to support Christian-based education and Christian-based learning here in our areas, and I want to be able to give some resources to that. And we thank them for their commitment, because that's what allows us to allow pastors to come. Mount Calvary, I tell folks, you can come there cheaper than going to the community college. Our tuition is extremely low in what we charge at Mount Calvary. We have awesome instructors like Terry Henry and others, Dr. Terry Henry. Hope he's listening tonight. And we have so many others as well who serves with us. And we're very fortunate for the donors and people who give the Mount Calvary to make it happen. We offer degree programs from associate degree in biblical studies to our bachelor's degree program and Christian education as well. We offer our master's program, our Master's of Divinity program, which we're very proud of. Mr. Felton, who I worked with many years, he serves in that program, who's a graduate of Shaw University, as well as we have a number of other fine professors. I don't want to just leave anybody out tonight.
Absolutely. Well, I have to pause. You did say that Dr. Terry L. Henry was an instructor, and that is my pastor, the Reverend Dr. Terry L. Henry, the pastor of Macedonia Missionary Baptist Church here in the big city of Wilmington.
Absolutely.
That is my pastor, and he is an excellent teacher. I hope I never have to decide which I prefer best, teaching or preaching, because he does them both very well.
He does.
He operates in his gift of both of those. Francine, thank you so much. I was just going to say, Francine, put it in the comments, but Francine has that the fall session starts August the 17th.
August 17th.
And she also has the number. She says call 910-665-1352. So that's the number to call for Mount Calvary University School of Divinity. So please, if you're interested, the fall season starts, the fall session starts on August the 17th. So you still have time to enroll. So that is great. And then if you can't remember the number, you can always hit me up, and I'll be sure to get up with Dr. Tate.
Absolutely.
Yes, George Steele Jr. said, Pastor Heron, we're very proud of our pastor. He's an amazing leader and an excellent teacher. So I know that his classes, along with the other instructors, because I like how you've found specific instructors, tailor-made pretty much for your program.
Absolutely.
So you know what you're feeding your people, and it's so important. So thank you for that. So there's Mount Calvary University School of Divinity. The number is in the comments, 910-665-1352. And the fall session begins August the 17th. Thank you so much, Francine. Thank you, Tommy Gwen, for signing on. Thank all of you for signing on tonight. Hi, Dr. Emerson. Thank you so much for signing on. She says Pastor Henry is a biblical scholar and an awesome teacher.
He is.
He really is, Dr. Emerson. And thank you again, Dr. Emerson, for signing on tonight. We're so glad to have each of you on tonight. And again, we're talking about finding your voice. It is imperative. It's important. It is crucial that you find your voice and then utilize your voice once you find it. Dr. Tate, you have actually set the bar high for us as far as finding our voice and then utilizing our voices with the work that you have done and you're doing in the community, and how you have that Mount Calvary University School of Divinity there for us to sharpen our tools, and that will help us find our voices. So again, we challenge you to find your voice. We challenge you to utilize your voice. If there's ever been a time that we need to utilize our voice, it is now. Sharon Harris, thank you so much for signing on tonight. Thank you for joining Respus Live. So again, we want you to find your voice. And Dr. Tate, before we end the show, is there anything you want to share before we close out?
I want to tell folks tonight, it is power in finding your voice. And I think that once you find your voice, you continue to sharpen that voice by going to schools like we say, the Mount Calvary University School of Divinity, the Mount Calvary Center for Leadership Development, which is the professional development wing of the that really focus on leadership development training. But we want to also share with folks tonight to have that voice and be bold with your voice. And as I said, in today's society, you're right. We all have seen over the last couple of weeks, it's a need to have a voice. It's
Absolutely.
a need. It's a need. And it's also a need for leaders. I want to say to stop and evaluate ourselves as well. And never think as a leader that you have arrived above, that you cannot be critiqued, that you cannot learn to better your skills and to make your community a better place. So thank you, Sharon, for what you're doing tonight, because often we hear people complain about things that need to be changed in society or the resources they like. Tonight, you're providing a voice for the people. And I was sitting here a moment ago, and I was thinking about the potter and the clay. And I was thinking about how Jesus is still constantly molding us all along the time.
Absolutely.
And he's molding us as leaders. And sometimes during that process, during the molding, please, it's not easy. You know, and we can be breakable at that point in time.
Absolutely.
But tonight, thank you for being unbreakable. Thank you for being that voice tonight. You and Jamie are doing an awesome job tonight and making sure people have their voice.
Absolutely.
And making sure once they find their voice can be heard. I'm so glad tonight to be on the show with a daughter of Pender. That's right, New Hanover, Brunswick. She may be there, but she's a daughter of Pender. I'm calling the board chair of Pender County when I leave here tonight and let him know what one of our daughters are doing. Thank you so much, our sisters.
It is an honor, and bless you for those kind thoughts and those kind words. I am grateful for this opportunity, and I don't take it lightly. I challenge myself, and I call this a ministry.
Absolutely.
I call Respus Live a ministry, and it is important and it's imperative that everything I say and do is a reflection of my personal beliefs. And I believe that we need to find our voice.
Absolutely.
And utilize our voices. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity to use Respus Live to help share my voice, as well as allow you, Dr. Tate, to share your voice with all the Respus Live viewers. Wantana Frank, thank you so much. She says, thank you, Sharon, for using your platform. Wantana, thank you for your support. Stephanie Bloodworth from Pender County, yes, thank you so much. Dr. Tate, I want to share this message with you from George Seal Jr. He says, thank you, Dr. Tate, for all that you're doing and your willingness to share information. So you're still being a change agent even on the show. Linda Brass says, thank you, Dr. Tate. And thank you, George. He says, thank you for creating this platform. Thank you, George, for your compliments and your kind words. I appreciate them. And Shirley Weeding says, thank you both for such a great podcast. So we're grateful that you've enjoyed this podcast. We hope that you share the podcast. And again, Stephanie Bloodworth says, thank you for sharing Dr. Tate, UNCW alumni.
There you go, UNCW.
Yes, UNCW is in the house. And thank you so much, Linda Brass. I love you, my dear sister. Thank you so much. So I want to give a shout out to our sponsors on tonight. And if you would like to be a sponsor of Respus Live, our Cash App is $Respus Live, and we also have a PayPal account as well. All of your contributions are tax deductible, so please remember that. And if you would like to sponsor, and I call this a ministry, if you would like to sponsor our ministry, if you would like to plant a seed in our ministry, it is $Respus Live for Cash App. I want to thank our sponsors, Advanced Concept of Southport. Thank you for being a sponsor. We appreciate your sponsorship. And again, that's Advanced Concepts of Southport. Tonight, I want to give a shout out to Latoya Hardy. Her Facebook page is Creative Bling and Accessories. So my jewelry is by Latoya Hardy. Thank you so much. And of course, you know, if I have on makeup, no one but Beauty by Drea is beating my face. Thank you so much, Drea, for always making sure every Monday that I am in tip-top shape. I go and it's like a makeover. Every time I leave her place, she always makes sure I'm looking well, and it is imperative that I look well, because I feel like we should represent ourselves the way we feel. So thank you, Beauty by Drea. And the music, our theme music is by A&A Promotions. Thank you, Antron Anthony, for the hottest theme music on any podcast. I don't care what anybody say, it is straight fire. The Respus Live theme music is by A&A Promotion. Thank you, Antron Anthony, for sharing your gift with the Respus Live. And again, I say this at the end of every Respus Live show. Here's to 2020 and living your best life. We have to live our best life even in 2020. In the midst of a pandemic, we can still see the hand of God. Absolutely. And we can still use our gifts, and we can still find our voice. So again, we challenge you, Dr. Tate and I challenge you on tonight to find your voice and to utilize your voice. Again, thank you so much for joining, and may his peace be with each of you until we meet again. Thank you, and have a great night. Thank you, Dr. Tate.
Thank you. Thank you for letting me be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.